It's time. We're just excited to be back. We just finished up a little team barbecue here and just kind of enjoying each other's company before we get to some meetings this afternoon. A lot out there for this team. Excited about really making the journey with this team and really proud of the work that they put in that no one sees, but the coaches and the strength coaches. And I think it's very imperative that to our success of how this team needs to play to win games. And the next 3.5 weeks in fall camp will be a big indicator on what we're capable of doing. I think we're more athletic on the offensive side of the ball. I think we've learned from the adversities of last season and are really, really ready to grow on those things. I think defensively, we need to continue to evolve and take the next step. And, really excited about the playmakers we have at that side of the ball, special teams, the consistency that Dean and Nick and Simon have brought to that phase of the game and really being explosive playmakers, and excited to see some of these young guys really take the next step. So in the next 3 weeks, I'm just excited about where our program can go, what we've been building, and just really to show all the work that we've been putting in the dark and make it come to light and really seeing the fruits of our labor. So just excited for all the work and ready to get going.
All right, first question, Jamie Vinica, Coop fan. Go ahead, Jamie.
Afternoon, Coach. How we doing?
Jamie, it's so good to hear your voice again. That means football's here.
Coach, you're the first person to ever say that.
That's good.
So I always ask you about the juice players of the day. How about a couple of juice players of the summer? Who brought the juice this summer?
Well, first off, I want to give a huge juice award to our strength and conditioning staff. Ben Anakioni and his staff have really transformed, I believe, our team. I said it at media day. We're bigger, we're faster, we're stronger. I think we're mentally tougher. And those are aspects that are going to win us games. So really props to him. That was a big change in our program. And I thought this summer is when our guys really got comfortable with him, his messaging, and really his program. I'm just proud of the leaders on this team. We work hard with the leadership council, but guys, that have been through a lot, like Connor Gomness and Lincoln Victor and Nakia Watson and, RJ, BJ, Shaw Smith Wade, the Jaden Hicks of the world. I think these guys are ready to not only be great players, but great leaders. And that's real juice to me, because we talk a lot in the summer, you got to create your own connection. What I love about Washington State and Pullman is that we have each other, and these guys that have gone through it and have worked their tail off. I mean, Stephen Hall broad jumped over 11 feet. We got some guys like DT and Capenna that are running insane times and speeds. Luke Roten is over 280. There's just some size where you can see people changing. We are in a developmental program, Jamie, and what the strength staff does, and we find developmental traits in recruiting, and it's on us to develop these guys. So it's great to see some of those young guys. Shaw's holding 180. Jalen Jenkins is now over 175. There's a lot of guys that I'm really proud of, and I can't just take off of one of those guys, but I think it's a collective group, and the attention to detail we've had in that realm of our program is outstanding.
Speaking in terms of the freshmen, maybe discounting guys like Carlos, Ansel, and Warren, who we saw in the spring. Couple guys that stood out to you in the summer that are going to be kind of be factoring in a little bit during fall camp into the two deeps.
Well, I think guys that'll get really meaningful reps will be Brandon Hills. He's been an explosive slot player. I mean, you can see the 23-foot plus long jump that he had in high school when he gets out on the field. Let's see how he processes and puts some of those things together. Carlos and Ansel, no doubt about it. The other one is Adrian Wilson. I think he's going to be able to get early reps at that position. We're a little thin at free safety, but excited to see what he can do and if he can push to travel. I talked to those guys this morning. 4 guys on our roster last year as true freshmen. They traveled, and a lot of those guys contributed. And who will those guys be? We'll see. But excited about some of those young guys, a couple long freshmen corners. So we'll see kind of how it all pans out, but those are guys early, I think, that have caught in our eye, and then let's see what happens when the pads get on.
All right, next question, Greg Woods from the Spokesman Review. Go ahead, Greg.
Hey, Jake, how's it going?
Greg, I'm excited to have you with us.
Yes, sir. I'm excited. Obviously going into year 2 as the head man here, are you approaching this fall camp any differently than you did your first one last year? I'm curious if there's any differences in your approach.
Yeah, we are. And we actually just went over, some of the big picture scheduling for the players. We're going to start a little bit slower and ramp up in. I thought we had a great summer and how we finished and some of the mental work that we did to prepare them a little bit better. So I want to make sure early on through our catapult numbers that we're not just wearing guys out. I think you can have some major setbacks and some small, like tissue injuries that you don't need to have. Next week, or I'd have to look at it. Practice 10, we're going to a night practice. Okay. Last year we were 1-4 in night games, so we are a morning practice team. We're a morning preparation team, but we got to get better at being able to sit around all day, right, and getting our energy dial right so we can ramp up and go play and perform at night. We'll always have night games here on the West Coast. I think it's important to us and our fans. So we got to perform better in those moments. So I took a hard look back and, we didn't really train them for those. Our second scrimmage will be a night scrimmage. Let's play under the lights. Let's learn how to compete that way. So little tweaks here and there. We'll do a few more walkthrough opportunities than we did the year before, but be really pointed in the work. I thought I got this phrase, from one of my guys I know in the business, and it was callous versus blisters. Our guys need to be calloused. Okay. They don't need to go into the season blistered. Okay. We got to make sure we're hardened, we're tough, we're focused. We know what to do and how to do it. And then we have the ability to go out and execute it. So there is a master plan. It's very detailed. And every individual on our roster is different for what they need to prepare for that game. So it's on our coaches to make sure they understand the difference between Cam Ward and Jackson Potter and Cam Ward and John Mateer. And every position as we go needs different things so they can maximize their best come 12 Saturdays a year.
All right.
Working with the two new coordinators in Ben and Jeff, I guess, like, how do you try to mesh with those guys the best this fall camp, and kind of what's going to be like working with those guys this fall?
Legendary head coach John Stiglmeyer, South Dakota State, who just retired this year after winning a national championship. When I was with him, he would say it takes a staff 3 years to get on the same page. And when I was a young coach, I didn't really understand what he meant. Now I know exactly what he was talking about. It does take a long time. So we spend extra time to gain clarity in every facet of our program, including the coaches. So there's not a small detail or a little thing that we don't emphasize to make sure everyone's on the same page. We spent a lot of summer doing that. When we went out to recruiting camps, Jeff and Ben stayed back here to make sure they could invest time in fall camp and be very diligent in their planning on the things that they need to rep and teach. So it's just one of those things where spring ball gives us a glimpse of what that looks like. Now, fall camp, when you do it back to back to back to back for 3 straight weeks, there are things that will come up, but we're professionals. We have the same goals and the same vision of what we want to accomplish. What I've really liked about both of them is that they understand is that the Cougs win. Okay. It isn't the offense winning fall camp or the defense winning fall camp. It's us coming out and being, selfless to what each side needs, right? There's times when, hey, Coach Arbuckle, can we get a 13 personnel set here so we could rep it? Hey, Jeff, let's do some 3-4 stuff to make sure we get a little extra emphasis on odd fronts. So there's things that we will do, but it's about making sure that we're doing what's best for the Cougs.
All right, next question, Julian Minninson. Go ahead, Julian.
Hey, Jake, thanks for taking the time. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Something you mentioned at the end of last season was you were hoping for continuity. Now, to kind of piggyback off that last question, is you want guys to be here. Do you see that continuity happening with this current staff and regime that you have to build that 3-year kind of time frame that you were just talking about?
Yeah, I think I think college football is very challenging and it has been very cyclical, especially at the highest of levels. I want to do everything that I can to provide our staff and support staff, and players for that matter, with the best experience possible. I want guys that want to be here. It's part of the interview process. Try to be very diligent on the front end to make sure a great coach, great mentor, but also a person that, wants to be here and fits Washington State and Pullman, Washington. And that goes all the way down to their family. So, very diligent in that process. Stability is important, and having continuity year to year, I think for a young person and a player is very important. So we're going to do everything we can to keep our staff together and keep molding together so we can grow together too. So those are all important factors. And I think we've done that. But I always want what's best for our staff members too. I remember when I sat in the seats as an assistant and wanted to be a coordinator, or a coordinator and wanted to be a head coach. That's part of this game. And that's part of my job too, to share in their hopes and dreams and mentor them to be better each and every day. And I think when you do that, it's amazing how it flips around and then they give you everything they got. And proud of our staff. I know the work that they put in behind the scenes, and we're ready to maximize this 2023 season.
And where do you think Cam's evolution and next step of his game is going to be for this year?
I think that's a very important question, and it's continually evolving. But I think Cam, first off, I think Cam knows who he is better than he ever has before. This isn't FCS sensation Cam Ward. This is Washington State quarterback Cam Ward. Okay, and I think there's great comfort in that. He's learned from the extreme highs and some of the lows of last season, and he's grown. I think his maturity level has taken really steps forward, and I think he's ready to grow into a great leader for this team. And there's a quiet conviction about Cam and his game. I think fundamentally, I've talked a lot about really getting his feet and arm in sync. He has NFL level talent. I think that's very easy to see, but I think those little detail things will help his accuracy numbers, especially down the field. And Coach Arbuckle and him and their synergy has been really strong. And one of the biggest things about bringing Ben into our program was his downfield passing and how we're going to attack the ball down the field. And I think that squarely fits Cam's game, right? So I think there's a conglomerate of a lot of great things that we've done for Cam and he's done for himself. And he's been tirelessly working at the process, and he's ready to go out there and lead through a challenging season. Every season has its different challenges, but I expect a lot of success. We've surrounded him with a lot of guys that I think can go out there and make plays, and our offensive line has gotten decisively better. So put all those things together, I got really high expectations for Cam. He does for himself, and we'll be ready when the time comes.
All right, next question, Austin Getz, KHQ. Go ahead, Austin.
Coach, good to see you again. Just wanted to ask, obviously I know a lot of the on-field work starts tomorrow, but getting to this point when you get through the summer, does it almost feel a little bit like a reward of some kind?
Yeah, I think it's funny just in general, not just the media, but a lot of people ask me, oh, it's great the season started. I like to say we're in mid-season. There's 5 phases to preparing a team for a football team, the winter camp, the spring ball, the summer training, fall camp, and the season. So, we're well into the process of what time it is to go out here and win. It was funny. I was sitting outside a couple of days ago, and my neighbor walked by, and they're farmers, and they said, "Coach, it's harvest time." And I thought she was alluding to the wheat. She goes, "No, it's harvest time for you." And I think she's exactly right. We put in a lot of work behind the scenes to grow and work. It's time to cash in. It's time to cash in and get the fruits of our labor. And I think that's what fall camp and the season really represents. So fall camp, if you are a football person, is the best time. I tell every freshman that. This will be hard, it will be challenging, but you're in the best time of your life right now. No academics. You're here playing ball. You get to wake up and do something you love each and every day. You get to challenge the man in the mirror every second of what we do. And it's just so fun and exciting. So as a coach, I can't tell you the excitement I woke up with today, and it'll be even more tomorrow.
And it's watch list season. Cam and Brennan pulling in those preseason honors. Is there something to that for the other guys on the team being able to see that and point to those guys and say, people think that we're lining up next to some of the best guys in the country?
Well, I don't spend much time on preseason lists, if I'm being 100% honest. I do appreciate you bringing that up. But we talk all the time, when you really buy into a team concept, that's when you will achieve individual accomplishments, right? So I think those guys embody that. They work for that. We should have more people on preseason lists. I don't even know if we do or we don't. But at the end of the day, I'm confident in our talent and what we have on this roster. I think it's good for young guys to see when you do things right, when you do the little things and you believe in the process, you can achieve great outcomes. Okay, but I don't want a single player on our roster's goal to get on a preseason list. It means nothing, right? So to the victors go the spoils. Sometimes that's the fruit of the hard work, and I'm excited for those guys. But at the end of the day, we got a long way to go to get to award season.
Next question, Scott Hansen, Seattle Times. Go ahead, Scott.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Good, Scott.
Is there a position group that you're most excited to see the development of in the next few weeks?
Yeah, wide receiver. I think they were a very bright spot in spring ball. I thought you got a chance to really see our guys catch the ball at 5 yards and turn it into 50, right? We have some explosive playmakers that A, can take the ball down the field, and B, can catch it and make something happen with the ball in their hand. And I think that's a great feeling for Coach Arbuckle, obviously for Cam, and really for our team to know that we got a bunch of playmakers out there. Now, consistency, day over day, can we stack days and get better and better and better and better and chase that 1% each and every day? Is going to be a position group that I know is beyond capable. It's going to be ultra competitive. We got a bunch of guys that are fighting for time to be out there, and that's a really great place to be for me as a coach. So I think there's a lot of guys that can contribute. I'm going to be one of those positions that I'm excited to see it really unfold as camp goes.
Are you more optimistic this year than you were last year at this time? Or
I like to say I'm always a little bit optimistic. And the reason I am, Scott, is because the outcomes are in our hands. We're all we got, we all we need. I said that at media days. It's our theme for the season. The answers aren't outside this building. They're within us, right? So we'll win or lose games with no excuses, right? Because we control our technique, our efforts, our execution, our connection, how we handle adversity. We control all that. And that's what really wins games, right? So I'm optimistic about taking one day at a time, believing in the process and knowing that we can achieve great outcomes, but it's not going to be easy. This season is just like all the other ones. And I'm just focused on how I could be my best every day for our team.
Next question, Stephen Wiebe. Stephen, go ahead.
Coach, Stefan with the Lewiston Tribune. Earlier you were talking about the new coaches, meshing with those guys. I know every coach kind of brings their own ideas and stuff. What are a couple of things that maybe an Arbuckle or Schmedding has brought, and you're like, oh, that's a good idea for practice, or something they're going to be bringing to camp this year that's maybe a little different?
Well, I think we sit down in the summer, and that's a big question. And I say, well, what do you need to be successful? How do you guys see it? I think Jeff is very, very detailed, and some of the things just in sudden change and situational control and how we're going to execute some of those things in practice, I think are going to be huge. Coach Arbuckle always wants to be challenged on the fly. I think he's always wants to be creative as a play caller, wants to be on top of things. He loves when things are off script. I think that's how he operates. That's how he sees the game, so I'm very detailed and planned and want every little thing. So I think it's maybe getting even outside my comfort zone of how I did it as a coordinator, and just kind of making sure, we're building staff, we're building situational, we're making sure that our guys are in peak condition once we get to week one. So I think there's a lot of little details there, and kind of love what they've brought to our team.
And then as far as the players, and what are you hoping most to see from these guys from these first couple of weeks of fall camp here as you guys really get going?
Standards over everything, to live the standard. It's going to be really easy day one, day two, day four, but to see a certain standard of accountability being withheld throughout all 15 practices before we start school, I think is important. Connection is our edge. The talent sets the floor, the connection sets the ceiling. We've worked with Steve Jones for a long time, and he's really taught us that. So what are we going to do to really connect, really have each other's back, really have hard conversations, really get to where we need to be as a team, so those are some of the things that we'll be focused on over the next few weeks. It isn't always just the X's and O's. I think we got great coaches that are going to hammer that. I love our schemes. I love how we've evolved because I think you have to evolve in this game. So there's just a lot of different ways intangibly that I want to help our team be really mentally tough. It's going to be a focus of most of our team meetings and providing our team a toolbox to handle everything that'll be thrown at them this year.
All right, next question, Luke Westfall. Go ahead, Luke.
Afternoon, Coach. So my question, you talked a lot about the wide receiver group, and obviously there's a lot of turnover there. So my question is about the linebacker group, actually, because obviously last year you had Deion Henley, who came in as a transfer and had immense success, was a big part of the leadership of the team. So I'm just wondering kind of what you've seen from them, what you still want to see from them as you go through fall camp and get ready for the season. Obviously with a new DC, with a bunch of transfers at that position, what you're kind of expecting from them and what you've seen so far.
Well, I think the biggest point of focus will be the core of our defense. I think all the way from the D tackle and the nose guard to the two linebacker positions, really settling who that's going to be throughout fall camp will be very, very important for our future success. I love the pieces that we have in there. I think it's a blend of a bunch of different guys. Devin Richardson, his stability and maturity has been a really calming influence in that room. He's seen a lot of different things. Things haven't always gone his way. He keeps pushing. He does it the right way. Kyle Thornton's role on this team has been elevated. And then Kyle has worked his tail off to be ready for his moment. He's no longer just a role player special teams guy. Kyle's ready to be a starter. He's ready to go out there and not just be efficient, but be completely effective and go out there and make plays. Ahmad, showed really high flashes throughout spring ball. And then, Huddy and Tariq, they got to be ready to go. So those guys need to make that sophomore year jump. So there's a lot of things that are in the focus. And if we're going to have success on defense, it's going to be because of that core of it between the D tackles and the linebackers have taken a big step forward. So a lot of things were new coaches, new scheme, new meetings. I mean, there's a lot of new between those two positions that we're hopefully to see a little bit more success early in camp because, okay, we put a lot of work in the summer to get to, a new point and take a step forward. So excited about the work that everyone has put in and, we'll go as that core and that heartbeat of our defense goes.
And then obviously you've mentioned that there's been a lot of work put in obviously up to this point through the winter, through the spring, but as you get to this point and early into the season when with all this turnover, when there is some gaps potentially in execution, how do you feel like the energy of the team, the leadership of the team, and the mentality of the players that has been instilled in them by the coaches can kind of make up for execution at times when it may not be perfect at times?
Well, those are your words. We don't have gaps in execution. We won't. That's why we practice. That's why we communicate. That's why we have a really clear vision, A, as a coaching staff, but B, as players, so we can go out to execute to the best. One of the things that we're going to be focusing on this year is that hesitation kills performance. Our guys need to know what to do. They need to know how to do it, and they need no hesitation, right? So I think our value as coaches really provides our players the ability to go out there and play fast. That's what good coaching does. So we're going to instill the confidence. We have the talent in our team and in our program to go out and execute at a high level. And it's all about communication, and that's about being a mature person, competitor, coach, to know that you need to ask the question if you don't know the answer so we can all be on the same page. One thing we focus on is if there's voids in communication, it's filled with chaos. So let's close those voids. Let's communicate as a staff. Let's communicate to the players. Players talk to each other so we can maximize our time, which is always kind of limited on the field. This isn't 2 days every day anymore, right? So everything we do is pointed, has a reason of why we do it. Our players know that, and they're going to go out and execute it because I think we do have a very mature group of competitors.
All right, next question, Jamie Vinnick. Go ahead, Jamie.
Coach, I know you said the evening practices are to prepare for evening games. I'm going to assume it's because I need my beauty sleep and you're doing it for me. Just kind of want to get your thoughts on the current state of the Pac-12 with Colorado leaving last week and just kind of where your mindset's at with that.
Well, I would say this, I have not yet had an update from Pat. We're hoping to have a meeting here sometime and later today or the next day, just getting some more information. You know me, Jamie, I'm focused on what we can control. I think Coach Lanning, kind of put it all out there. We're ready to compete. When we play the teams that are leaving our conference, I believe we have one of the best conferences in the country this year. I do, from top to bottom. I think the traditions and the pageantry of the Pac-12 are important, and let's not forget about those, so we're excited about what we can do now. We're really excited about an extremely strong Pac-12 going on in the future. And I know through the CFP expansion, when you win the Pac-12, you're in the college football playoffs, period. Whatever that looks like, so I'm excited about what our team can do and what that means with this traditionally strong programs that we have in the Pac-12. So excited about getting some of the distractions over with and getting on to playing football and know what our future is. And hopefully that'll be sooner than later.
Just going off the roster that was sent over, did David Johnson move to wide receiver?
David Johnson will be moving the wide receiver. We wanted to see David in a position, sometimes you take athletes and you kind of play what side of the ball that he will be on. I think he's more convicted on that side of the ball. I think he plays faster on that side of the ball. So excited still in a developmental stage to go over there and see if he can give us something at that outside receiver spot.
All right, next question, Greg Woods. Go ahead, Greg.
Hey, Jake, are there any other position changes besides David on the team?
We moved Reese Sylvester to strong safety after we added Dom Tatum. Rashad McKenzie is going to be out for fall camp, still with a lingering spring ball injury. But most everybody else should be exactly where they need to be. I'm trying to think as I look through. Hilborn will be bouncing back and forth from right guard to right tackle. So you see a bunch of different guys in those positions. But other than that, I think we're pretty stable on who and what and where everyone's competing at.
With the offensive line that you just mentioned, what are some names that you're going to be kind of keeping an eye on, and what are you hoping to get out of that position group this week?
As we work to get the pads on, I think it was a group that this spring really took a step forward, and that's a credit to Coach McGuire and staying true to the process. Obviously, it's the number one position that you have to develop, and there's no just quick answers to go find that. So Christie has given us a big jolt of life, at that right guard position, and I expect him to be even more comfortable. I can't say enough about Connor Gomness and the leadership that he has provided, really not only our offensive line, but our whole team. And Make moving back inside, I see a confident guy again. I see a guy that's going to have some major contributions as we keep going. And I'm excited about these young guys. Let's see what the Roten twins can do. I think Falili is really going to establish himself as one of the best tackles, not even in our league, but in the country. I firmly believe that. Where's a Zach Miller going to be? Johnny Lester as a walk-on has just been phenomenal. Essa needs to take the next step in his development. So, and without talking about everybody, I think it's a big fall camp for this group to stay healthy and really build continuity and who's going to be that 5 playing as 1.
All right, next question, Sam Taylor. Go ahead, Sam.
How's it going, Coach?
Good, Sam.
All right, so to jump back to the strength and conditioning staff for a minute, what specific changes to program or messaging did they provide that really set your team up to succeed, to be where they are today?
Yeah, I said this at media days, but good strength coaches train physical, great ones train mental. And I think Ben has taken our mental toughness to the next level. And I know his favorite phrase is, you can do hard things, because you can. You just got to make sure that discomfort is here to grow you. And there's no better way to do that through the weight room and through the training. Ben, I don't know if you want to say it the right way, but he's a little bit old school, right? A lot of guys are shifting to where everything's done systematically on the field. He still believes, as I do, of building it from the weight room out. Okay, train the strength, and then how you're going to utilize that strength to train the mover on the field, to then the coach is taking over to perfect the technique, right? So I think he's had a distinct plan, especially at the line of scrimmage, to get us bigger and faster, and stronger. Like we lacked strength when he first got here. So even in spring ball, he lacked, we lacked probably a little bit of conditioning level, because we focused on getting great strength gains so we can compete in his league at the line of scrimmage. So I think he builds relationships really well. I think our guys know his door is always open and they can lean on him for everything. So that's not just him, that's his whole staff, so just excited about what we've done down there and what we build. And he doesn't make it easy, but he makes it really rewarding, and that'll show up on the field.
And then off the field, how did off-season programs like Race to the Roses help shape your team? And can you speak a little bit about that program and how that kind of helped you during the off-season?
Yeah, Race for the Roses is, I mean, one of our biggest things is in core values is competition, so it's one of those things where we draft teams and we do little fun competitions and challenges, and you get points for grades and community service and going to Cougar events. There are some things where you can get negative points that we call learns. But at the end of the day, it was a big race around campus with different challenges, just like the Amazing Race. It was fun. I think it's things that our guys will remember. But it's just little ways that, they think it's a competition. I think it is a connection point, so it's amazing what I can do from my seat to make sure our guys are interacting and having some fun and competing and doing a lot of different things. So it came down to the wire, but it was fun to complete.
All right.
Thank you.
Jamie Vinnick, go ahead.
Coach, just to follow up on the offensive line, as you mentioned, you said Christian was working at right guard and right tackle. Is that correct?
Yep.
So is that Essa has left tackle locked down, or who's working in there along with Essa?
Sorry. Christian will work left guard, left tackle. Sorry. Lily will be at right tackle and Christy at right guard with Make. So, Make will bounce back and forth at the guard positions, and some of these young guys have to, come out when Christian bumps out, but I want to make sure, Cam's blind side is protected. I think Christian Hilborn is an amazing athlete for his size and now added his strength. I think the big things are really expected and can be had out of Christian. Do I want to cement that at some point going throughout fall camp? Yes, but that won't be till after the first scrimmage. Essa has to take the next step. He has all the tools to do it. He's got limited experience in this game, which is okay. Now we need to see that growth and that consistency from him. So, that's kind of why we're doing it, and we'll find the best five, and as well as anybody that we'll need more than that as we go throughout the season.
So you're just trying to confuse me. I get it.
I confused myself. Sorry.
Great. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it. I'll see you tomorrow.
Yep.
All right. Last chance for questions. If you have one, raise your hand. We'll get to you. Gianna, go ahead.
Hi, Coach. Apologies, I just joined this Zoom because it locked me out for 30 minutes. But anywho, I'm here now.
Okay, glad to have you.
Yeah, apologies if this was already asked earlier, but kicking off fall camp tomorrow, how eager are you to start? What are you kind of most looking forward to get back on the field with your guys?
I think there's just tons of excitement in the building. We've had a great summer to get to this point. I'm just looking forward to finally getting, out there and seeing the gains that we've made. We put a lot of hard work in really over the 9-week training session this summer, and we have to see the fruits of the labor, and we have to take the step as a team. And I think what I'm calm about is I know we have what it takes to be really successful, right? And then now the onus is on us. We have the talent. I think we've worked hard as a coaching staff to get on the same page, but the excitement is through the roof. I don't even know if I'll sleep tonight, if I'm being honest. I can't wait to get here and to work with this team. We've invested a lot in our guys too, so we're all bought in, and I think that's a really great place to be. So to finally start that journey together, the season portion of it is exciting, and there's nothing like college football. And as a coach, there's nothing like fall camp.